Thank you all for joining today. My name is Spencer Green. I'm the current president of the California O&P Association, and really glad that you've joined us for today's webinar. We're pleased to be joined by Dave Hughes. Dave is a clinician in the Northwest, an adjunct lecturer at the University of Washington P&O School, a partner at Cornerstone P&O, a partner at Fabtech, and brings today some very interesting information on lean in O&P. And as an industry, I think that we are maturing in a lot of different ways. And efficiency is always something that's at the top of my mind. So I'm really interested in hearing what Dave has to say about lean and really how we can implement this in our own practices. So I hope that everyone is able to take something away from today's webinar. So with that, Dave, the floor is yours.
Awesome. First of all, thank you everybody for joining, and thanks for this opportunity. So I'm, like Spencer said, I'm involved in a lot of different things, a practitioner at Cornerstone, partner and clinical director for Fabtech. We've also got Proclaim, which is a P&O billing company, and KG Solutions, which is a consulting company. So I wear a lot of different hats. We started practicing lean about 22 years ago with working with some consultants and a couple trips to Japan. There's a lot of information. This is a lot. I'm going to just go as fast as I can. If there's time, I can actually go into our company's intranet and show you some of our work orders and some of our dashboards and some of the tools that we've built to run our office better. If we don't have time, then maybe another day, or you can see it when you come up to the Northwest and tour us. So first of all, I want to start with a big disclaimer. This is my desk on Friday. So I don't claim to be perfect. I have not arrived. I don't claim to have all the answers. I'm a student, and I'm basically bearing my soul here and showing you what the biggest pain in my life is right now, and that happens to be my desk. I have some goals set up for this to fix this problem, but I haven't got there yet. So, you know, just wanted to be very transparent on this. So quick agenda. Let me just move this screen a little. I want to go over lean definitions, what motivated us to go in this direction. We'll cover the 8 wastes, which is kind of a basic for lean. Go over 5S and 3S, and then cover a lot of kind of lean principles and tools, and have some examples. I've got a couple in here from Japan, and a bunch from our fabrication facility and from our clinics, and then some tips on how to get started, and then we'll have some questions. So basically, lean manufacturing, Toyota production system, Kaizen, those are all kind of synonymous. And the goal of this is really to just eliminate waste and continually improve our processes. If I talk to somebody about lean or Toyota production system and they don't mention eliminating waste, then I know they haven't really understood or learned enough. So our motivation, in 2000, I attended a lecture on controlling inventory using Kanban cards, which are reordering cards that they use at Toyota. I successfully implemented this. Our inventory was a problem that I looked for many different solutions, trialed many different things, and it worked out really well. So I wanted to learn more. So I read some books, I hired some consultants, I made 2 trips to Japan to study Lean and Toyota, as well as other companies. And one of the big motivators was in 2000, with the decrease in reimbursement, increase in costs from vendors and our overhead, and then wanting to give our team members more, they deserve more. We had to become more efficient, and we had to do this as a team. And I really didn't have any place else to turn to kind of help us solve our problems. So that was in 2000. The story has not changed. In fact, it's worse now, in my opinion, much worse than it was in 2000 even. So that's what motivated me to get started in this. This is actually Greg and Scott, my partners in Fabtech, and I. This is back in 2000. So I don't know, maybe Lean turned my hair gray. I don't know, something did. But in Japan with these tours, everything was pretty formal. We always had to wear suits. We would tour a factory and then sit down with presidents and vice presidents in these huge boardrooms and have question and answer sessions. And then we would move to the next factory. It was really an amazing experience. I'm actually hoping to do it again soon, but it was a really hot time of year, and to be wearing a suit, running around in different factories was something else. So anyway, jumping right into some of the basics. So basically, Lean starts with really identifying 8 wastes. So number 1, overproduction. 2, transportation. 3, excess inventory. 4 is defects. 5 is overprocessing. 6, wasted motion. 7 is waiting. And 8 is underutilizing a team member's potential. So if we go through those one at a time, if we think of overproduction, I generally would think of that in terms of a big factory where they might be producing thousands of one type of part. Now, to our advantage in this, normally we're not producing something that somebody hasn't ordered or they don't, they won't want in the near future. So we don't have that to necessarily worry about in terms of overproduction. But what we do have is we have to figure out how to create standards in a custom environment. And that's something that we were challenged with a little bit. And because of that, we have a lot of companies that will come and tour us that do custom work, because we're fairly unique in that we're not mass producing products, but we're utilizing Lean. The next one is transportation. So that's just moving product from place to place, shifting it around, moving it from warehouse to warehouse. All that motion is just a complete waste. And I have a little example down here of just some of the easy savings that one of my employees came up with in terms of even just shipping product to patients if they need a new liner or socks, switching over to USPS as opposed to UPS, it saved us about 40%. So that was just a little something that one of my employees brought to us, got us set up, and we've saved quite a bit. One thing I failed to mention, let me just back up for a minute. We have 6 clinics up in the Northwest, and then we have our fabrication facility. And really my background is as a practitioner. That's what I do pretty much day in and day out. The management stuff, I have an MBA who's a partner here and does a lot of the managing. So, just as a background for me, most of the time I'm a practitioner. So jumping back into number 3, excess inventory. And that's either manufacturing it or purchasing it. So one of the things that excess inventory does is it takes up a lot of our working capital, which is, you know, very critical, especially at this time. It takes up a lot of space, which is also very valuable. It can also get ruined, lost, obsolete, or maybe it can't be returned because we held it for more than 60 days. We currently use Kanban cards to control our inventory, and I'll kind of get into that as we move further along. Number 4 is defects. We cannot afford in this industry, especially in orthotics, to make mistakes repeatedly. I've done a lot of job costing, and if I look at the margins in producing a PAFO, if we make an error and have to redo that, there's really no way to make that up. We've just flat out lost. So one of the big goals is to decrease any defects and solve problems kind of as fast as we can. Number 5, over processing. And this is a big one. You know, if we're starting jobs and stopping, if we're touching things 3 or 4 times, and when we only really need to touch them once, then, you know, this is another huge waste that can be cut out of our workday. One of the examples that I use is that we've got computers in every patient room. If I do the chart note with the patient in the room, they're right there. I can ask them the adequate questions. If I wait any given period of time, I won't confess to how long that could be. You know, I might have to read a couple notes before, try to remember where I was. I might have to call the patient because I can't remember, well, how much did they weigh? What was their shoe size? When did they get their last brace? All those things can be done in a room and then you're finished. If I do it after the fact, it takes a lot more time. So number 6 would be wasted motion. So anytime I'm moving from place to place in my office, if a tool's not in the right location and I have to go find it, or take 10 steps to go, you know, get a different tool or a different device, then I've wasted hours of time over a full year. And it's kind of staggering when you actually put dollars to the time. You know, like that example says, 2 minutes a day, you know, adds up to 9 hours a year times our 50 employees. That's a lot of money. And that's just 2 minutes. Early on, we had this monster of a copy machine. We had one in the building. It was at the front. If I had to make a copy or print something, I would have to walk from my office all the way up to the front and then back again. We got rid of the monster. We now have 6, probably even 7 if I learned how to count. Smaller printers, they take a lot smaller footprint. They're close at hand. People a lot of times don't even have to get out of their desk to get to the printer. And the number 7 is a patient or a customer waiting. Nobody wants to wait. You know, one of the things I look at is that lean, really one of the kind of definitions of lean is that it's customer focused. If I can deliver higher quality faster, then that's a competitive advantage for us. So we're always trying to streamline our processes so that there's not a lot of waiting time. There's not a lot of downtime. And you can see the example, if a office staff is waiting for me to finish a note so they can do the billing, that's a waste. That's tying up capital that doesn't need to be tied up because of a delay. Technicians waiting for me to modify something, same thing. This to me is huge, and that's unused team member potential. So one of the big things with lean is is really utilizing your employees or your team members to come up with the ideas on improvements. So we all know the jobs that we do. We know how to improve it if we're just thinking along those lines. So one of the big things that we're tasked with, especially as leaders in an organization, is to train people on how to look for waste, how to identify it, and then how to do it better. We all have ideas on how to do things better. And so we have to utilize our team members' ideas. And one of the hardest things as a leader trying to promote lean in an organization is you have to kind of allow people to make mistakes and to learn from those mistakes and to learn that a mistake is really just getting us to a better outcome, maybe a little faster. You know, Toyota always says, make a lot of mistakes very early. And so, you know, we take great care to not shut down our team members, not, you know, kind of have the response of, oh, we tried that 5 years ago. We try to just bring it back to, you know, what would be a different way of doing this, or what about this? And we try to really coax a better answer out of, or a better plan or process out of the employee who's coming to us, so that we can really promote this learning and moving ahead. But this one's huge. It's really hard for us as leaders to kind of let people make mistakes. And I'm not talking about, okay, you know, Bill's gonna go buy a new carver for $80,000. I'm not talking about mistakes like that. I'm talking about just things that they're doing in their own process that we might know won't really work, but we try to coax a better, you know, a better idea from them. So another little premise in this is that you really have to work on your own issues, your own processes. We all know what we're doing and how to do it better. We have a lot of ideas, but you know, I had a practitioner who would always kind of turn on our technicians and say, well, you know, it wasn't done this way. You know, this is standard. Everybody knows this is standard. And I could sit all of our practitioners down and say, okay, what was your thought of our standard? And I might, out of the 11 practitioners, I might get 5 or 6 different answers. So it's really important to kind of focus on what you're doing and not really put this on other people. They've got all their issues to deal with, and we expect that of them as well. So another big part of lean is 5S and 3S. So 5S, number one is sort and remove what is not necessary to do the job. So really get rid of the excess that's in the work area. Straighten is just like it says, you know, easy access to the tools, everything in its place. And shine is just clean the work area. It's a more enjoyable place to work. It allows you to do work a little faster. There's less clutter to deal with. Sorry, hold on just a second. And then the next one is, or one more thing in cleaning, it really allows you to see what machines and what machinery needs to be serviced or worked on, so that machines don't go for months and months not being maintained, and then next thing you know, you have to buy a new one or hire somebody to repair it. And then number 4 is standardized. So that's a big one. Getting a consensus in the work environment of what your best practices are going to be. And then that really gives us something that we're then accountable to. And one of the big principles when we have a new employee come in, to join our team, I really have to sit down with them and kind of explain our process. It's definitely something that has to be learned. But when we all come up with a really great idea, like we think, hey, this is awesome, and everybody loves it. But the fact that we believe and live continuous improvement, that means we're going to change everything. So I have to sit down with people and say, look, your ideas are great, but don't get married to that, because by definition, we're going to change it. We're going to keep improving this over and over again. And sometimes people will latch on and feel like, hey, that was my idea, I don't want to change. But we have to kind of train and coax that out of our team members, all of us, me included, to realize that that's kind of a basic principle is change. And then 5, another big one, is to sustain this, to keep the habits going, keep the changes in place. 3S is just kind of the abbreviated version of that. And we do 3S in all of our offices every morning. And our fabrication actually does 3S at night. They like to come into their lab in the morning with it completely clean and ready to go. So it's just the first 3: sort, straighten, and shine. A lot of times for the standardizing, that might be more of an event. That might be where you schedule time to actually sit down with the team members involved, come up with a different practice or process, and I'll get into that later. So I'm going to just burn through a whole bunch of different lean tools and standard work and kind of examples. So one of the big ones, and we've been doing this for a lot of years. I mean, many, many years. We learned this in Japan, but it was a hard one to have a daily meeting and to get all the team members on board and to get everybody moving in the same direction. And we had a lot of false starts. When you've got 6 different offices, some of them are, a few hours away from the main office, it gets hard to disseminate all this out. Luckily, a long time ago, Paul from OPI talked to me about Zoom, and we got on board with that, and that's really changed how we do our morning meetings. But this has been a big game changer for us. It's basically, we'll go over best practices. We'll discuss where we came up short. We'll do some problem solving. We'll recognize our team members who've done a great job, or birthday, wedding, new baby. We'll discuss patient feedback, good, bad, or ugly. And we do a monthly financial review as well. And if we can't solve a problem in that morning meeting, then we basically put together a team and we create time. We block their schedule so that those involved in the problem solving can have time to actually focus on just that. And it may involve somebody from the technical, the practitioner, and the office staff, or maybe just practitioners, or any combination. This is our current schedule. We've changed this a lot over the years, but these meetings are only 15 minutes. If it goes 20, we start to get antsy. Monday, we just do our main office and the support staff. Tuesday's everybody. So Tuesday, we might have 52 people on our meeting. Wednesday is just practitioners and the technicians, and the office administrators do their own meeting. Thursday, again, is all staff. And then Friday, again, is the main office. A lot of times what we'll do in these meetings, especially the Monday and the Friday, is if there's something that we might want to introduce to the whole company, we might want to run it as an experiment first in the Everett office, in our main office, And if it's successful, then we get everybody else on board with it. This is just a photo of our morning meeting. So in the Everett office, everybody just sits down in the morning, and then everybody else is on Zoom. All right, so I'm just gonna keep burning through this. There's a lot of stuff to cover in a short amount of time. Another part of lean is one piece flow. So each job is done one at a time, to a schedule. A lean company doesn't do batch work. They pull work through one at a time. So in terms of pull, which is another lean tool, instead of pushing jobs through a factory, when something is pulled through a factory, it's normally built once something's ordered. And that's kind of a natural for us. So our industry lends itself to pull production very nicely. But we work one job at a time, and I'll kind of get into that. But our technicians don't work on 3 different jobs at the same time. It's one job from start to finish. It's scheduled, it's timed, and it's just the way Toyota or some of the other lean companies would do it. Another tool that we use is called spaghetti mapping or process mapping, and that's when we basically take a task and we go from start to finish each step, and that allows us to really analyze where the wastes are, where we might be touching something 3 times, 4 times, where it's going back and forth, paperwork that's picked up, set down, jobs that are picked up, set down. But it's actually mapping a task from start to finish, from say when the patient walks in the door to fill out paperwork until they leave signing the delivery form. And that really helps expose a lot of the waste in our processes. It's a bit of a tedious task, but it really helps. Cell production, that's another big one. Everything that you need to do a job is in the cell. All the tools, the materials, they're all located where you're doing the job. So nobody within Cornerstone or our fabrication has their own bench. The practitioners don't, the technicians don't. The benches are all set up task specific. So if you're going to do a certain task, you would go to that bench. The tools needed are there, and with no extras. And then point of use, that's another lean tool. Again, all the jobs that you need all the tools you need to complete a job are located at that point of use. One of the things we've done at Cornerstone, and I forgot to actually take a picture of this, but we have a fair number of things kitted. So if you were doing a specific job that you maybe only would do once a month, it might have a fishing tackle box with all the tools in it, and then you would take it to a bench, and then when you were done, you would put it back in its place. This is a picture from Japan. This is a U-shaped line or cell, and basically you move from right to left, and the person is producing. This was a company that makes hoses and hose nozzles, and basically she moves from right to left and is assembling these as she goes. You can see a nozzle on the far left that's just sitting there. Well, the glue's drying, so she knows when she moves through and puts another one down that the last one she did is ready to go in the final bin, which is up above behind it. But all the parts she needs, all the tools, all the adhesive, it's all right there. When she runs out of product or pieces to assemble, the Kanban card goes out to what in Japan they call a water spider, whose job it is to just replace or replenish the bins that are full of the parts needed. The other big thing in lean, and I'll hit on this some more, but it's standard work, of course, and then it's very visual. So, I mean, honestly, if she spent 10 minutes showing me how to do this, I'd be able to look at the pictures and step in and do this. Now, I wouldn't be as fast as her, but I could be in there working within 10 minutes. And that's without speaking Japanese or reading Japanese. And then again, each step as you move through that U-shaped cell, the instructions are there. So these are some photos from our fabrication, and this is, you know, I didn't go in and clean up. You can see some sanding paper down on the floor there and whatnot. But on the left, this is our breakout station. It's got everything we need to break a model out and to get it set up. Two people can work this at the same time. We've got two different stations within this cell. This is our lamination cell. They've got 4 lamination stands. All the carbon, fiberglass, nylon, anything they need to laminate, the nylons are here. It's all there within easy reach. If you could turn around in that room, all the components you need to set up a lamination are there as well. All the attachment plates, they're all right there, just one step away. Just, you know, some other kind of lean little tools that I threw in here. In our lamination room, they actually have this device that's a pump that automatically mixes the resin to the correct proportion. So nobody has to take the time to measure it out. They don't have to wonder, okay, what percentage should this be, A and B? It's just done automatically with each pump of this lever here. I threw this in kind of as a little bit of a joke, but nobody takes our Sharpies when they're set like this. You're not going to put an open Sharpie in your pocket, but I know that I need a Sharpie here, both black and silver, and I don't want to have to go looking for it. So this kind of solved that problem. These are photos from our clinic. We've got 4 different stations that are set up exactly like this. They're all color coded. They all have this strip of colored tape. There's green underneath this plastic edge. But only the tools that will fit in these spaces will fit. If you put something else on here, the drawer is not going to close. This makes it very easy for all of us to kind of help each other, keep things in line. Somebody might have be a little backed up with a patient. Very quickly, we can put the tools back and help them out. And we know exactly where they go and where they came from. So you can kind of see if something's out of place, it's pretty easy to know where it is. Standard work. So jobs are completed based on our current process, our current standard that we set up as a team. It's really important that as we decide to make changes, that we don't do something that might affect another team without talking or discussing it with them. One of the big things that can happen is I might go to a conference and come back with the latest and greatest new ankle joints for AFOs. And I might order in a pair of those, send them over to Fab. And, you know, it's not part of our standard or our normal process. And, you know, some people sometimes will ask me and say, well, you know, it sounds like you're really rigid. You won't allow for that. And we actually do. And we feel that we're not rigid. But what will happen if you want to try something new within a standard work environment is the technicians will actually take that in. They'll do the work, but they're going to time it. They're going to see how long it takes. We're going to compare cost. And then we're going to sit down as a practitioner group and say, okay, this is the time difference. This is the cost. It's more. Are these joints that much better that they're worth changing it to improve the patient outcome? And if the answer is yes, then that becomes a new standard for us. If the answer is no, then we're going to be asking more questions and doing some more analyzing. Visual, I kind of hit that before. We want as many instructions as we can have visual or on video. We use visual Kanban cards to control our inventory. And we also have task lists that are posted that have daily, weekly, and monthly tasks, so that one, it reminds us what we're supposed to be doing. Like I should have one in front of my desk that says clean your desk every day. And then this allows a manager to actually walk by and see if the work's been done, because they can see it on the checklist. The Kanban cards, they actually, it's a visual way to control our inventory. And the cards contain what it is, who it's from, how many we want to have as our min max, and what to order. And this is another area that OP's really done us a favor, because we use OP Lights and we use favorites in that. And we're able to just type in the first few letters of the name of the product in our favorites, and it will auto load. The other nice thing about that is if we change vendors, we generally don't have to change the card. We just we'll change the favorite. So this is a daily task. This on the left, these are the bathroom cleaning duties. This is posted in the bathroom of our fabrication facility. There's 3 of them. They divide up who's going to clean which bathroom on what day. And the manager can just do a quick walkthrough at the end of the day and make sure that everything's checked off. On the right side is an office, and I apologize, this is so small, but there's a lot of information on it. But this is one of our front office daily tasks. So this includes daily task, weekly, and monthly task. And these are laminated or put in these plastic sleeves, and then they're checked off. So the manager knows if something's been done. And the big point of that is the manager needs to step in and help if somebody's behind on something, or maybe ask another team member to help the person who's behind. So it's still all about team. It's not about pointing fingers. Another just example of visual is we just have these little pieces of Velcro with a smiley face or a sad face. If this belt is dull and needs to be changed, we just flip this over, and then the next person that has a little bit of time can change this. This is a part of our morning 5S. We vacuum the shoe machine to land us out every morning. We use a shop vac. We don't blow dust around. So work orders, I wish I could go live on this, but we've developed internal work orders. I know OP has work orders. I would highly recommend looking at those, but we developed these quite a few years before OP had done this for us, or for all of you. And we're just so used to our own work orders that, so far we've just stuck with that, and we just continue to improve them. But we have work orders that we access online on our intranet. And basically there's just a lot of drop downs that would basically tell us what the standards are. So I can go through a work order pretty quickly, enter in the patient's name, their ID, the claim number, pick my name, and then I just move down through, where I want my trim lines, what joints I have. And these joints are standard to us. So if it's a standard joint, that means that we stock it in our fabrication and I don't have to order it. If I picked other down here on the right, and I wanted to do a different type of joint, I would need to order that myself and send it to fabrication with the job, or have it sent in there. And then that cues them to basically order that. In terms of quality, we basically have built into this system a quality system. So this is basically up here. You know, I want the technicians to phone me if they have a question. When it comes back in, the work order comes with it. This tells me that it needs to go into my bin. I want them to schedule the patient. It's for delivery. It's 60 minutes with me and with a resident. Now, if I found that this job came in and it had some kind of issue, I would actually click on redo or practitioner input, or the technician might give input, and then we can see how it's resolved. So when I do this, a text box comes up and I have to type in what the issue is. And then that actually goes, it becomes a pop-up for the technical manager. And then she's able to actually, in their morning meeting the next day, deal with this as a team or with the individual who did the job. Again, it's one job per technician per scheduled time. So we always know who the technician is that did the job. So we can very quickly determine, okay, is this an isolated incident with this particular technician that needs more training, or is this something that the whole team needs to do? And she'll decide that. On the right is just a completed work order. This is how they get it. It goes with the model. It comes back with the job. This looks very hectic. This is our fabrication board. It's highly visible or visual. These are the technicians. They like to give each other nicknames. So this is Hot Taco. You know, they've got all these names for each other. But these are the days of the week for a 2-week spread. These are technicians again, 2-week spread. If they're out, it's marked. And these are the jobs that they're assigned for that day. And again, we're working to a standard. So we know, like this day, this technician has, these are pretty big jobs because they're spending almost all day on those. They also schedule, and you wouldn't be able to see it, but it might be somebody's day to clean the plaster room, which they do daily, but it's kind of an arduous task. So those get moved around as well. Each office has their own color code, so you can see different colors on these. And these are Velcroed on. So when the work order comes in, there's a label printed, which has the patient name, the practitioner name, and the job. And it's logged into our system. And I could spend hours going over this, but if a stat job comes in, I was going to hit this later, but I'll just get it out of the way now because we're really running low on time. We had a real problem with our practitioners feeling like everything was a stat job. And when you're scheduling per hour, things are scheduled out. And so we would have a practitioner that would constantly say, well, no, this is stat, this is stat. And then one of our team members said, you know, if we only move the jobs for people who are calling in the stat, maybe some of the stat jobs will slow down or calm down. And that was definitely the case. When I'll just throw her under the bus hard. When Alice would call and say, hey, I have a stat job, and they'd say, okay, here's the jobs you have for the day. Which one of your jobs would you like us to move to tomorrow or to next week? And all of a sudden, well, you know, maybe I could go a couple of days on that. It becomes not such a big issue. So we're just always trying to solve problems. Each office has a different sleeve color. You can see down here, there's a printer over to the side for printing the jobs as they're checked in. So moving into Kanban cards, again, it's got the description, it's got the part number, who the vendor is, and when we would order and to what number. Another big visual thing for us and what in Japan they would call poke-yoke is we put these cards in between. So if we only stock one of these, the card goes on top. So if you have to pull it off, you have to take the card out. So there's no excuses. We put these cards, they're business card size, they're easy to print. We put them in business card holders that we cut out. And then we've got a visual. When something's out and it's been ordered, or before it's ordered, you pull the card, you just have to put it in a box, and then we order it from that, and then the card's put back in the sleeve with the date of when it was ordered. So then visually we know, okay, we're out of this product, but it's been ordered. If we're out of something and the card's sitting in here like this, then chances probably 99% it hasn't been ordered and we need to get it ordered. If we stroll through and see that the date is really old, and we have stock, chances are somebody forgot to pull one of these color-coded tabs, which is a real no-no in our system. This was kind of nice. I just got this email last week. One of our former residents, Baylor residents that had rotated through here, we spent a lot of time working with our residents. She's working at a hangar in Austin, and she sent me this the other day and said, okay, I'm starting to implement Kanban cards here at the hangar in Austin. So I thought I'd share that. Open office system. Toyota and most lean companies believe in open office system. You want people's heads as close together as you can get them. It sounds gruesome. Trying to learn how to shut out other people talking on the phone when you're trying to talk on the phone, but it actually becomes pretty easy. And it also, like, I'm in a room with the practitioners. If I hear something going south, I'm right there. I can just say, hey, wait a minute, what's going on? How can I help? Or one of the managers can do that. We use stand-up desks. People, a lot of times practitioners, we're just into our computer doing something quick. You can stand. If you need to do a job that takes a little longer, you sit. Another part of lean is load leveling. So we really want to eliminate our highs and lows in production. And we do that through our work orders and through scheduling. With load leveling, there's a lot less mistakes. It's a more enjoyable work day for everybody just due to less stress. Cross training, another lean tool or a tool in any business. We spend a lot of time cross training so that people can step in and help. We keep a skills matrix going so that we know who's skilled in what type of practitioner process or fabricating. Another thing, and this came from HUGHES, a company in Japan. They have everything. They had everything on wheels, and I mean everything, like trash cans, everything. And we've adopted this. It basically allows us to change as our needs change. When COVID hit, we had to spread out and not have the practitioners so close together. We moved office to their homes. We took up office administration space to spread our practitioners out. It was really easy for us to do because everything was on wheels. We could just disconnect and move. We don't have a big meeting room, but I like to pull in instructors to do courses and do all of our practitioners at the same time. I'm able to move our benches out of the way with 3 or 4 of us in about 15 minutes. And then we're set up for a course that I might have 15 or 20 people in. It's great for any vendors or any people who are teaching a course to us. And then when it's done, everybody knows what to do, get it right back into shape. So the benches are all on wheels. We mark them so we know where to put things back. This is one of our stand-up desks. It looks a lot different than mine, even though it's the same desk, but it's also on wheels. And the other nice thing is that you can move something out of the way to do kind of a deep clean behind. So another big part of lean is quality checks built into production. So we're always checking for quality throughout production. And this is really important because the cost of a mistake becomes exponentially higher as it moves to final or to finish. I talked about this earlier. We're able to, if a practitioner sees a problem with the product, or if a technician sees a problem with the cast, say I sent a cast over to my technicians and all my buildups just fell off. That's a big problem. And they're able to give feedback that would get to me the next day. Another big part of this is plan, do, check, act. And plan is to make a plan or a hypothesis. Do is to make the change, run your experiment, Kaizen, make the change for the better. And then check is to analyze your results to make sure you had an improvement. And if you didn't, you make a change, or maybe through the experiment, you thought of a better way to do it. And then you'd go back to the beginning and make another plan. I'm the kind of guy that does the lists of pros and cons, and I would just drive myself nuts. When I went to a lecture and they talked about everything in business being really just like a scientific experiment, it was so freeing to me, because now instead of me trying to figure out, okay, I'm the leader, I got to make a decision. Do we do this? Do we not? Now I just say, hey, let's do it. Let's run this experiment. But then we analyze it. We figure out if it's going to work.
Hey, Dave.
Yeah.
Quick question for you. You have a couple of questions in the chat. Will we have some time to get to those?
Yeah, well, it's 1 minute to one. I'm getting really close to the end. If we can do a few minutes after one, I've got a little bit of time. I could answer questions. What do you think?
That sounds good. And just while I have the microphone here, the link to register for the fall symposium is in the chat. So for anyone who wants to register, it's there, copy and paste it, whatever. But Dave, go for it.
Okay, a big thing that I really came up short on, because we've been doing this for 22 years, we should have a huge library of awesome changes that we've made. Take photos before or videos before and after. It doesn't take much time, and you'll want to go back and look at those. Office lean, my consultants basically said there's far more to save on the office side than there is on the fabricating side, but it's much easier to learn and start in the fabricating side. So we have a lot of office standards. We use chart note templates, billing templates. Everything we need is there. This is a process mapping of a WIP process. This is how we started. We refined the process. This is how it ended. We use a lot of dashboards. We're huge on dashboards. I wish I had another hour to show you the dashboards that we do. But this allows a practitioner to basically review their task list. We've got a dashboard that shows the practitioner what their WIP is. We know the status. If you look here, there's different colors. This is the color code to that. The practitioner can easily tell where they're at. Because we're so short on time, Kelly, Kylie, and Rebecca from our staff are doing a presentation on this, and these last few slides were from their presentation, so you're getting a sneak peek. They're doing a presentation at HUGHES. We also developed something that we call the L-code crosswalk. We're running out of time, so I'm going to just breeze through this or explain what it is. But basically, I can type in an L-code, and it will basically allow me to go through the top, pick a insurance carrier, and then it'll tell me exactly what I need to get authorization, or more importantly, what the front office needs to get authorization. Everything they need is on here, so that they can tell at a glance, hey, this insurance, we don't need prior auth. This one we do. There's links that go straight to Medicare LCD. So if you have a question, you can go straight to it. I wish I had more time on this, because this was a phenomenal thing that our staff came up with as a team. Toyota, I'm not promoting Toyota. I have a huge respect for them. They've taught me so much. Their biggest goal is to train people to really see waste. There's, lately there have been some problems with Toyota, and they'll admit that they got a little bit lax. It looks like I misspelled Toyota here. Geez. This guy, Paul Akers, wrote a book called 2 Second Lean. And he was on the second, I went on the second trip of his to Japan. He has become a lean guru. I would promote him. Let me see what's next. I've learned so much from this guy. He has so much free content online. If you're thinking about doing this, he's the guy you want to look up. These are some suggested books. Again, Paul Akers, 2 Second Lean, I'd start there. Toyota Way is a great book. The Goal really discusses theory of constraints. This is Paul Akers' website. Hundreds, probably even over 1,000 lean videos that are anywhere from 2 minutes to 20 minutes. Just amazing stuff. Morning meetings, everything you could imagine he's got in there. If you choose to go down this road, I'd again purchase that 2 Second Lean, learn what the 8 wastes are and how to identify them. Start with morning meetings. That's a huge cultural change. If somebody asked me, how we were able to change our culture, it was through morning meetings. People who are really shy will pretty quickly learn in our morning meetings that, hey, so-and-so can talk about this, I can too. People realize that no one's going to put them down, and their ideas are heard and listened to and tried. Make it fun. And then if you're in the Northwest, come and visit us. Part of lean is paying it forward. Back when Tom Kirk was CEO of Hanger, and I can't remember his name. He was the head of SPS forever. They came up and spent a day with me, and people say, well, Hanger's your competition. And I said, well, this is something that everybody should learn. It's something that should be shared. And those 2 guys spent the whole day with me. You're welcome to come and tour. Tours keep my team very sharp. People ask questions, they got to know the answers. So just give me a little warning though. I love this as my last slide. This to me is another example of lean. When I left Seattle, it was typical of our weather. It was pouring, it was nasty, it was miserable. But from 20,000 feet, the sun was out, Mount Rainier was glorious, everything looked great. So really the moral of this is, to solve a problem, you have to get down onto the gemba, the shop floor. You have to go to where the problem is. And Paul Akers always says, hey, if you don't know where to start with fixing what bugs you. If something's bugging you, fix it, take the time. It'll save you far more time in the long run. And that's, whew.
All right. Dave, thank you for all that great content. I want to throw some questions at you from the chat.
Sure.
Do you have an employee incentive program to share the company's savings with the employees who make suggestions for improvement?
We don't. Most companies that start off this way will tell you that they stopped. Honestly, it's a part of our culture. When you come and interview, when you come to get a job here, we're pretty clear that this is expected of you. If somebody doesn't really want to participate, just to be frank, they don't last very long. They usually will self-select out. It's just not for them.
Okay. Do you know how much time it should take to do different parts of fabrication, inclusive of modification, pulling plastic, cutting it out, finishing? How do you track that your techs are working efficiently?
So yes, to the first part of that. And the way we know is that we have the time that a job's been given, with the accumulation or the accumulated times for each step. So we know what that is. The technician's given the job. If an hour and a half goes by and they're still not done, then they're reaching out for help. They need to go to the manager to get help, to help them get back on track. So it's really, I mean, it sounds harsh, but it's really not, because for whatever reason, somebody could have got behind. I mean, maybe bad sheet of plastic, whatever, for whatever reason, but it's part of the manager's job to help them get caught up, or their team members. So they work as a team to get caught up. Or if there's some kind of issue or training involved, it becomes very apparent to the manager very quickly. So yes, we know how long it's going to take. Was that easy? No. Did we have to constantly improve it, adjust it, change it? Yes. And do we still do that? Yes.
Yeah, that rounds out the questions in the chat. I'd just like to close with a couple comments here. You know, we all find ourselves in challenging inflationary times, and so becoming more efficient is probably more important now than it ever has been in the past. So I hope that everyone's grabbed a few little nuggets of information that you can take back to your practice and implement. I also think that as I was watching this and looking at the organization, I think that might lead to some employee satisfaction too. Not looking for that tool that you know you left on your workbench that's no longer there, or whatever it may be, right? Things are just available and present, and it makes for a nice work environment.
Yes,
Dave,
everybody works actually hard to maintain that, because they don't want to go back to how it could be. And these times are tough. I mean, my advice is start now. Don't wait. Get it going. Please share my email. I love this stuff. I've been studying it and practicing it for a long time. Obviously, based on my desk, I have not arrived, which we never will. But feel free to reach out. I love this stuff, and I would help anybody that was asking or needing help. And if you're in the Northwest, man, come, please. There's so much stuff we can show. I wish I had another hour, because there's so much I could show you, you know, more live, just through our intranet, all the tools that we've created to help us be more efficient as office staff and practitioners and technicians for that matter.
Dave's contact info, his email is in the chat. You can find it there. You know, you will also find, as I mentioned before, the link to COPA's symposium, which is November 3rd and 4th in San Diego. Come get some great education in San Diego. It'll be a good time and a good opportunity for some camaraderie as well. So Dave, thank you for your time and your knowledge. We appreciate it. And I hope everyone has a great day.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate the time. And somebody came through the chat and asked if I could do another hour, and I'd be glad to, but you know, it's just time permitting, you know, or if you're doing a live in San Diego, I'll come down. Direct flight out of Everett.
Right on. Excellent. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thank you.